Thank you for joining us this afternoon for this month's Diplomat Diaries series. This is a series that we curate every month and invite a diplomat, a senior diplomat in Delhi to engage with us on questions of global politics of that particular country, India's relations with that country, and hopefully talk about where perhaps the world is going. And there is so much to talk about these days that often we find that we are compressed for time. So thank you all, and thanks in particular to our Ambassador Stener, Excellency. She has given us her time this afternoon. We are very pleased, and we are hopeful that this conversation about Norway's approach to the world and India-Norway relations would invite enough provocations, enough interesting questions and observations in the room to have a discussion not only about Norway's Norwegian foreign policy, but perhaps how the world order is evolving more broadly. So thank you once again for joining, and Excellency, thank you for giving us your precious time. We'll start as we usually do with a brief introductory remarks by Her Excellency, and then we will open this up for questions, comments, observations. I think in more ways than one, this is an interesting time to talk about Europe, to talk about Norway, the security architecture in the region, how it is evolving, global politics, the tariffs, and the global economic order. Both in terms of security and economics, we have seen tremendous transformation just in the matter of a few weeks. Perhaps unprecedented in terms of the scale and scope of that transformation, both where Europe as a unit is headed in terms of its strategic thinking, but also how the global economy is headed and where it is headed, particularly what has happened in the last few hours in particular. So while the focus will be on Norwegian approach to many of these questions, we would also like to explore where India and Norway ties are headed, particularly in light of EFTA, which gave a boost to the economic dimension of this engagement. But also there are a number of issues on innovation, climate, energy, technology, etc., where India and Norway are working very closely together. So we look forward to Ambassador's presentation first, and then we will have your interventions thereafter. Ambassador, over to you.
Thank you very much, and it's great to see so many in this room today. And I take that as an interest for Norway's views on world matters and also India-Norway relations. And you are right to be here. For us, this is an especially important year in the Norway-India relations. As you were also already mentioning, Harsh, it's the Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement between India and the EFTA countries will most likely enter into force this year. It was ratified by the Norwegian Parliament less than 2 weeks, or it was approved by Parliament about 3 weeks ago and ratified. All formal procedures finished less than 2 weeks ago in Norway. So that's, of course, very, very important. And we are the first group of European countries having a free trade agreement with India. We know all that that India is now negotiating with also other groups and also the EU. But we are a few steps ahead. Also, about three weeks ago, actually less than 3 weeks ago, I had my boss, Norwegian Foreign Minister, visited Delhi because of the Raisina dialogue, and he participated also very actively. And this year, I'm also hoping to receive the Indian Prime Minister in Oslo. For sure, it is Norway who will host the India-Nordic Summit this year. So, you know, this just shows that the Norway-India ties are really growing. And as Norway, we really appreciate that. It's a turbulent world, demanding global situation. In that picture, I really think that it's good news that Norway and India are talking a lot, and it also seems to me that we stand together in supporting the multilateral world order that we have had so far. So let me just say something about that, the world on the world and on Europe, as you asked me to. I wanted to dwell a bit on Europe first. Europe was completely changed 3 years ago with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. That was the first time since the Second World War that we have seen war in Europe, and also this invasion has broken the norm that we've had since the Second World War of a Europe free of wars of conquest. For Norway, this invasion of Ukraine is existential. You know, probably all of you, that Norway is also neighboring Russia. So when we have one big neighbor invading another neighbor, of course, we feel that this is something that is happening at our doorstep. Historically, we've had actually very friendly relations with all our neighbors in the north. We've had a lot of people-to-people relations. There's been a lot of collaboration on Arctic issues, for example, and this completely changed with this invasion also. And then I would like to say we are a small country in many aspects, not all, but particularly population-wise when we compare ourselves to India. But for us, as a small country, there is absolutely no alternative to an international order based on multilateralism, international law. Reacting firmly to Russia's invasion is what we had to do. If not, it would have had long-lasting and dangerous implications for our security. Well, it still can have. So our stand when it comes to Ukraine is that we stand fully and firmly behind them. They are fighting not only for their own survival, they're fighting for the very principle that binds us together. The principle of sovereignty of each country, principle of freedom, and the rule of law. So Norway, we have contributed quite a lot to Ukraine's resistance. We have called our program to support Ukraine, the Nansen program. Some of you might know what that means. Nansen was an important figure in Norway about a little over 100 years ago. We have committed also quite a lot of funds and are looking to step up. And we are funding air defense, energy security, medical evacuation, training of Ukrainian personnel, facilitating prisoner exchange, and other important contributions to the war effort. We are also, though, actively supporting the European peace plan that is currently being developed. This is, of course, what we all want. It is though important to ensure that the solution, a possible solution, provides free and independent Ukraine and does not put Ukraine at the risk of new Russian attacks. Norway is working together or we are working towards continuing US support to a just and lasting solution in Ukraine, and a security guarantee for Ukraine becomes significantly stronger and more credible with US involvement. That's why we work for that. But we cannot also accept that Ukraine is not at the table when their security and their future is being discussed. So let me just divert a little outside Europe, outside Ukraine. Here in India, I find that you think we're talking a lot about the war in Ukraine, which we do, and I said because it's existential for us. But there are a lot of, also other places we are facing in this world today, several brutal wars and several brutal conflicts. Gaza is almost every day in the papers, but there's also very brutal war in Sudan and also in Democratic Republic of Congo. All of these wars concern us, and also these that are not in our immediate neighborhood. For Norway, it's been important to navigate in today's conflict by saying that we want to try to avoid double standards. And that means that the UN Charter applies all the time. And the UN Charter is just not a menu that you can pick and choose from when it suits you, even if you're a big country and have a lot of power. International norms should be applied equally across the board. That is the stance that we have had and that we want to have. We condemn the 7 October 23 attacks on Israel very strongly. But thereafter, we have also been one of the countries that have been saying quite clearly that the military operations Israel have been carrying out in Gaza are not complying with the founding principle of proportionality and distinction that we have with the rules of war. We have principles that civilians should not, to try make the civilians not too hardly affected. And we have been criticizing the disproportionate use of force in Gaza. And then we believe that has been out of the same key principle that also applies to the war in Ukraine and why we have been firmly behind Ukraine. And also as Norway, and I believe most other countries with the means to do so, we have realized that we have to take greater responsibility for our own security. Norwegian defense budget has almost doubled in the past 4 years. We have strengthened our marine forces, ground forces, air defense. We have enhanced our situational awareness, and we have tried to develop our ability to withstand also digital threats. Norwegian government is also trying to actively participate in the ongoing efforts in strengthening Europe's defense. We have been too dependent on the USA, we do realize that, but now we also see UK and France at the forefront of uniting Europe. And then they do so now in stronger support for Ukraine, but we are also supporting those efforts and trying to be part of that coordination. So let me just also say something about the US and the new American administration. Their policies are, as I already mentioned, affecting Europe's security architecture. For Norway, US have been our closest ally. They've played a crucial role for our security. But we must also admit that we are experiencing big movements in American foreign policy and trade policy. There has been quite a lot of uncertainty created by President Trump. This administration, they have different priorities, and they are communicating this in a bit of an unconventional manner, if I may say so. Still, we believe, as Norway, our cooperation with the US have been very strong, and they have been our closest ally for about 8 decades now after the Second World War. And that's been through different administration. In fact, cooperation in certain areas was actually expanded during President Trump's first administration. And therefore, our goal is to continue this cooperation. So we still believe that the United States is very important to Norwegian and to European security. Our cooperation on security and defense is based on shared interests, not least in the most northern parts of Norway. That's where we also have the border with Russia, as you probably know. And we also believe this is very well known in the US, and that we are, until Finland also joined NATO, we are the NATO country with the closest proximity to the Russian nuclear weapons. So we hope that they also feel that we play an important role, which ensures the safety and security of the US itself. So far, we have chosen to believe that the United States also stands by its commitments in NATO, including the obligations that they have under Article 5 of the NATO Charter. So the world is looking quite grim these days for us who are interested in international politics. The picture is quite pessimistic. I am an optimistic person, so I'm sorry to say that. But we also have to look for opportunities and what are the new alliances, how can we work together. Our foreign minister, when he was here in Delhi 3 weeks ago, he also admitted that the rules-based order is now in the emergency room, but he also said it's not dead yet. We are committed as Norway to get the rules-based order out of the emergency room. We hope to collaborate with India. Some countries still believe in this international cooperation and working together towards common goals. And I believe, you know, where I started, the Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement that we have with India and the other EFTA countries is a sign of that. We want to cooperate, and we want to cooperate more. So may I end my initial remarks with that?
Thank you, Ambassador. I think it's always good to end on a very forward-looking and positive note, optimistic note, as you said. I have a few queries that I thought I would bring up, and if you could respond before I open this up for some of the broader participation. One of the points that you elaborated upon about the US in particular is a question that not only Norway but almost every other country is asking, particularly if the idea of US as a partner is to be reimagined and rethought. Given that you have been a very close partner of the US, and given how the situation is evolving around Norway, both in terms of security architecture, as you described, and also now in terms of the global economic order, as we have witnessed in the last few days. The essential question of American reliability is coming back and back. Can America be relied upon as a partner that can sort of shoulder the kind of commitments that it used to? How would you respond to that challenge from a Norwegian perspective? Because that's a challenge that India is also, in some ways, has always been, this question has always been at the forefront of Indian strategic discourse. And at this particular point in time, this question of America as a partner, American reliability, is being underscored repeatedly, both in terms of the whole question of NATO, for example, this what Americans are questioning the basis of NATO at this point in their own ways, as you articulated. There are different ways in which they are shaking up very unconventional ways, and this has been open questioning of NATO's structures and processes is something that we have witnessed. That that either you do this or we are going to withdraw from NATO, or something of that kind might happen. Those kind of pronouncements have come. They may not be serious about it. There might be a negotiating tactic of getting Europeans to increase defense expenditure, etc. But I think it does send out a message about the structures that were created in place post 1945 are being reevaluated, both security-wise as well as now with on the global economic side as well. So how would Norway look at this development, and how would it try to insulate itself from some of the more undesirable elements of these shifts, and what perhaps you are doing individually, but also in partnership with other European countries, that allows you to think that perhaps some semblance of the old structures would still continue to prevail, as you seem to be underscoring in your remarks?
Yeah, well, thank you. That's a very broad question, and I believe that I also said something about it in my introductory remarks. That, of course, there is more uncertainty now. There is a rhetoric that is different from what we are used to, but we also choose to keep to what we see and what is actually happening. And as I said, so far we have chosen to believe that the US will stay in NATO. There has not been, in this period, nothing said about anything else. We have also chosen to believe that they will adhere to the principles of NATO. I would also like to say, how I ended my introductory remarks, that what we need is more cooperation. And I think there's a very strong realization of that in Europe now. The EU Commission, the whole EU Commission almost, was here in India to talk to India. As I said, we are talking more with India and countries like India. So the cooperation that we have, and also with other countries, might be reinforced. And my Prime Minister, Norwegian Prime Minister, he's in Brussels today. He is spending a lot of time to talk with the EU, even though we are not members. We are sort of semi-members because we are connected to EU in many different ways. But since we are not like proper members, we need to spend a bit more effort on that, and we are very much behind the rest of Europe. And the rest of Europe is united. The rest of NATO. So also there is a bit of rhetoric. There is a lot of noise, and if you look behind it and see what is actually happening, and taking one step at a time, hopefully we will be able to also remain to keep some of the rules-based order that we know and that we've had, and that has served us very well these last 80 years. This is what we believe from Norway as well. And we are only losing it if we don't work for it. So we also have to choose to do that.
Related question on Ukraine. I mean, because that's essentially, in some ways, the Ukrainian question is tied up with this issue of European security architecture. You touched upon it. But in the sense of how you have seen the developments of the last few weeks in terms of the negotiations that have begun, and you mentioned that Ukraine will have to be part, or should be part, ideally, should be at the table. But we have seen, for example, an outreach to Russia by Washington, and an engagement on Ukraine as well. But the two are more or less parallel processes that seem to be moving at this point. There is the two have not been bridged and brought together. So in your assessment, and you talked about the European peace plan as well. And so where do you see the two converge? Where do you see the European peace plan converge with the American peace plan at this point? Because Americans seem to have more of a direct approach with the Russians and the Ukrainians, whereas Europe had also tried in the past where Russians were missing, if I recall, last year. So do you think that approach has changed and that approach has evolved? And do you think that Europeans and Americans would be able to bring these two approaches together to figure out a response? Because ultimately the issues do concern themselves with the larger question of European security architecture, which at this point American approach is not directly addressing, it seems to me.
Well, certainly things have changed since 20th January, and to some extent also to the positive, because some movement have been created. There has been also push from the US towards Russia that has also been positive. Because they have also told them that, you need to get your act together here. We want peace. And then, of course, it looked like if Ukraine is not part of the negotiations, it's not going to be peace. They are the affected ones, so they need to be part of that. But so we, as Norway, we think, it's good that there is some movement. It's good that there are talks, but they certainly have to come together. We, as Norway, we have quite a bit of an history as mediators in different conflicts. But when it comes to Ukraine-Russia, we cannot be a mediator because we are not impartial. We support Ukraine, and we support that they need to be heard, and there can be no peace if Ukraine is not defining what do they need to get that peace. So in that sense, we cannot sort of bring the parties together in the same way as maybe the US can now, maybe India can. But we would be still very supportive of efforts towards that end, and we would also try to support in all other different ways. For example, in the last years we have supported the grain initiative. We have supported return of the deported children, negotiations on civilian prisoners of war. We've had an initiative there together with Canada. We have also supported the Red Cross to that end. So we are very willing to do what Ukraine asks of us, and if we, with our experience, can be helpful. And we are really hoping that, the changes that has happened in the last couple of months also will lead to something tangible that can stop this war. But of course, the aggressor is Russia. That's how we see it. And then they also have to admit something, and they also have to come with something to that table.
You mentioned, that this whole issue of multilateralism, and you talked about your belief, both from a Norwegian perspective, but also a European perspective, that multilateralism is key to a rules-based order. And if you look around the world, you are at this point, perhaps you do not see that kind of faith in multilateral systems as perhaps at one point we saw. And then therefore, for a lot of the countries in the global south, this is becoming a big issue, that you do not really have a multilateral, first of all, order in place. And then you have had countries that had initially created this multilateral order. They are busy undermining it. So in that sense, do you look, when you look at it from a more of a practical perspective, you do see the emergence of a number of these minilaterals, plurilaterals. I mean, even if you look at EFTA, for example, it's a collection of 4 countries that view the engagement with India through a similar lens and have come together working with India. Do you see optimism in that, or in that process, that when you look at a lot of these minilaterals emerging around, providing some practical solution, or are you worried that these minilaterals can further erode the multilateral system that has been in place now since 1945, and that has paid dividends in some ways in terms of global governance?
Well, also a big question. May I say first that I don't agree with you that EFTA is a minilateral in this respect. EFTA is those few countries remaining in Europe that are not members of the EU. It was a bigger organization and is now a smaller one because the other one has joined the EU, and we appreciate that. We think that's good. So therefore, since we are not members of the EU, we also try and further our interests together, being a little stronger than each and every one of these four countries. So it's not a sort of a breakaway in a way. It's the other way around. That being said, multilateralism is a lot. We agreed in 1945 and a couple of following years on an order consisting of the United Nations in the middle of it all, but also the World Bank. We have developed other instruments, WTO developed out of the general agreements on tariffs and trade, and we have a lot of instruments that have been reinforced, and this is a system that has only grown stronger. What we now see threatened, and by some big powers, is this order that is based on or the rules-based order that you respect other countries' sovereignty, and you respect some rules of war, that you don't affect civilians, try not affect civilians, etc., etc. That order is threatened, and it's not right totally that everyone is leaving it. It's quite a lot of people, and countries, and you were mentioning all the countries of the South that want to preserve this order. European countries want to preserve this order. I also see, that most Asian countries want to preserve this order. There was a meeting of foreign minister of the G20 it's about a month ago in Cape Town, and with non-participation at the political level from the United States. So they were sort of leaving that arena, at least for now. But what we saw was that all the other countries wanted to discuss how do we use G20 as a good instrument for sustainable development and the economic development that we want to see together. That is, of course, also not a minilateral, because it's about 80% of the world economy in the G20. But also we have seen, and that was the during the Indian presidency of the G20, that you managed to reform the G20 in a way that they also fed into the other systems, the UN, the WTO, and actually were part of developing them. So it's not like one pessimistic picture. There are a lot of developments here, and we do see countries also wanting to support the order that we have. For example, we have not either seen any other countries after the US exited the climate treaty, not seen any other countries doing that. We've seen a couple who have talked about it, but not anyone has done it so far. So we are still quite strong, and we need to also talk about that and discuss, how to continue along that path.
Finally, before I open this up for your questions, comments, and observations, please do raise your hands. I just wanted to have one final go at it, Ambassador. A question about India-Norway and how do you look at the economic relationship post EFTA? Because this is certainly this has been the big ticket achievement between the two countries, and now that you look forward, how optimistic you are about reaching the ambitious targets that have been set. So, and I think that perhaps, given its centrality to the relationship, and both perhaps it also has an impact on the other FTAs that India is in the process of negotiating. It would be very useful to hear from you as to how far we have traveled and what is the goal there in terms of moving forward.
I'm very happy that you're asking me about that, because then I can really be optimistic. If I look back 10 years, the number of Norwegian companies in India from then until now has doubled. If I look back 6 years, the trade between India and Norway since then has doubled. And it's not huge yet, but there is great potential. And after we signed the Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement last year, we have seen a lot of interest from Norwegian companies. They are very interested in coming to India, and they are looking at how to further trade, but also how to look at investments. In the sort of new feature in this Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement is that there is a chapter also on investments. In that chapter, as government, we don't decide at all over our companies. They are very independent, but we have committed to promote foreign direct investments. And that means that we are traveling around and talking about India and where is it possible to invest, in which sectors, how to do it. Also, India has itself already established, and that is before the entering into force of the treaty, an EFTA desk at Invest India that will particularly help EFTA companies or companies from EFTA countries into India should they encounter any problems. And we've seen that there is a lot of interest, and in that sense, I think in the next 10 years, the trade will probably more than double. If the number of companies will double, I'm not sure, because there are not that many Norwegian companies. But I'm really quite optimistic here. And the sectors that we have seen there is an interest for also here in India is the energy sector, renewable energies. Norway is an energy superpower because we found oil and gas. But we have also used a lot of the technology that we have developed for that to see how can that be also used for renewable energy. So we have a lot of technological expertise in that area. We also have quite a lot of expertise in the ocean industries, on the maritime area, and in the circular economy. And we have a lot of companies who are looking to India to invest and to trade. So I am really quite optimistic.
Thank you. Let me open this up for your questions. Yes, sir. So we'll come to it. So we'll take 3 questions at a time. Please briefly introduce yourselves and.
Most certainly. Excellency, good afternoon. I'm Amit Gupta. I'm a business leader, and thank you so much. You have mentioned about the economy part. About 6 months back, I watched your interview, wherein you mentioned about the blue ocean. You have briefly touched upon it. However, there's a lot more can be done on that aspect, blue ocean economy. Then renewable energy corporation, of course, you have mentioned about it. However, when we talk about trade and business, the investment are certainly coming from Norway to India. However, the reverse is not happening for whatever reasons. Apart than the big ticket businesses, there are small businesses also which can find ways. However, I, as a member of FICCI, we have discussed it in the federation as well. If something can be done to promote, or in case you have some comments wherein we can learn from your observations, where Indian business houses can work in Norway. Lastly, we have a substantial number of Indians in Norway. In case you would like to comment little about it. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is R.P. Haran. I am president of a company putting up a unit to manufacture ethanol. Basically, two questions. The first one partly has been already answered. Norway had been a founder member of NATO. And today, the Ukraine-Russia crisis being what it is, and looking at past record of Norway having intervened in matters as far as Israel and PLO, Sudan, Sri Lanka, I mean, what is its stake? I mean, you have mentioned that. What is its stake and take on the issues in Ukraine and Russia? And secondly, now that President Trump has announced and said many number of times he is going to cut the spending on NATO defenses, I mean, do you think this war is sustainable at the way the things are going on? It's been 3 years and it's been draining the resources of almost everybody, including every country of Europe. And Ukraine is in ruins. And the rebuilding alone is going to cost billions of dollars. So how long it's going to continue, and whether we will ever see a light at the end of the tunnel? These two questions.
My name is Jayesh Khatu. I'm from the Center for European Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. So my question is regarding Norway's recognition of the Palestinian statehood amidst the ongoing crisis. So how do you justify this recognition in strategic and normative terms, especially when you seek to maintain credibility as a neutral actor and mediator in the Middle East?
Okay, well, good. Thank you for the questions and the engagement. It's great to see. On the first question, there are about 25,000 Norwegians in Norway now. This has sorry. Indians in Norway, yeah, of course. We are not that many more of Norwegians either. But yeah, 25,000, and that's considerable for us. We are only 5.5 million Norwegians, or and it has been also the fastest growing group coming for work, like not as refugees to Norway in the last years. This is something that has changed also in the last 10-20 years. There were a few Indians in Norway came in the 80s, mainly from Punjab, but most have come now, and they come as skilled workers and are warmly received and also, I think, well integrated as I see it. They are also part of Indian companies in Norway. So there are Indian companies also establishing in Norway. It is going both ways. But for us also as Norway, and talking about the free trade agreement, the Indian market is just so much bigger than the Norwegian. So we also realize that it's much more interesting for Norwegian businesses to come to India than the other way around. But it is going both ways. And also now when we are discussing the Nordic India Summit, we are discussing, how to get this together, and that's both ways. And in the areas that you are mentioning. But mostly we think, these the trade and the economic partnership between Norway and India is compatible because we have the technology in those areas that I was mentioning on particularly renewable energy and on the maritime side, and then India has the scale. and together it can be big, and there are a lot of opportunities. So that's how we look at it. You were also mentioning smaller companies, and this is also something that we are discussing quite a lot, how to create a better environment for startups. In India, but also for Norwegian startups in India and for Indian startups in Norway. So we are discussing that quite a bit. I don't have all the answers now, but I can confirm that these are things that we are discussing. On the NATO, and if the war is sustainable, if there is a light in the tunnel, I think these were the issues that I also mentioned in my introductory remarks. That we always have to believe that there is a light in the tunnel, and we do see some movements, and we hope that they will lead to something. But there has to be some principles. We cannot accept peace if that means that Ukraine has to defer its sovereignty. So there has to be some negotiations. There has to be the parties have to be. Yeah, sure. So I also commented on that, and what is Norway's view on that it has to be. Definitely, Russia is the aggressor here, and the party that has been attacked and has been invaded. We have to. Well, of course it has to be on their terms, because it has to be on the terms of their sovereignty. So that is a very firm Norwegian view. And on NATO, just generally, I think I also commented that in terms of that we realized that we have to step up. I explained some of those things that we are doing in Norway to step up our commitment to military spending and to NATO, and this is happening in all European countries and among all NATO members. So we are working also on that, I believe. On recognition of Palestine, which we did just over a year ago, as part of some other European countries. The recognition that we have was that we have been working for a two-state solution, and this is since the Oslo Accords in 1993, and after the developments that were over since 7 October 23 and the following year, it just seemed like that was the possibility of also recognizing Palestine as a country was a way of furthering the two-state solution. And we still think that this is what it was, and that is why we did it.
So let me take another round, and let me go back because I think we have, then I'll come to this table once again.
I'm KK Raj Chaudhary, consultant, energy environment. Madam Elin, I would like to know your role you have been playing in promoting and accelerating joint research in hard to abate climate change solutions. That's all.
Greetings everyone. I am Aradhya Chauhan from Amity University. Ma'am, as you have already emphasized that what is the importance of Ukraine's security dilemma, but recently President Trump has emphasized that US would not be providing significant security guarantee to Ukraine, and it has also emphasized that it is the responsibility of European nations like France and UK. So how does Norway sees it, and how Norway is committed to support Ukraine in this point of time? Thank you.
Hi, Ambassador. My name is Shairi and I work on European affairs here at ORF. My question is about tariffs. because this is, of course, the big word of our time. And President Trump has announced a 15% tariff on Norwegian imports into the US, which is substantial, but it's still lower than what has been levied on India and the EU. The EU is, of course, considering negotiation as its first tactic, but it's also looking at a whole range of countermeasures, retaliatory tariffs, etc. What is Norway's approach going to be? Which way do you think Norway would be heading? Thank you.
Thank you again for good questions. Let me just answer the second question first, because I think that's also, as you said, I have been saying a lot about it already in my initial remark. But the Norwegian stance is very clear on the security guarantees that Ukraine has asked for. We understand very well that they need them in order to discuss any peace at all. So we stand with Ukraine there as well. So that's the second question. On the first question, there are a lot of different research between Norway and India, between institutions in Norway and in India, and also on climate. So that's also the good news. Just last week, I was attending the steering group on marine pollution that I am chairing together with the additional secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Forestries, and we have some projects there. Some of them actually to clean up the plastic that is polluting, but also some of it to on the research and how to look at different climates. So we have several. I'm not sure if I can remember everything here and now, but there is quite a lot going on there, and research cooperation between Norway and India in general is quite vivid and quite lively. There is a lot of things happening there, and that could also be linked to an earlier question here on the startups, because some of the research that is being done is also leading to some of the business ideas and some of the startups that are happening here in India and in Norway and in together. So on the US tariffs and Norway, of course, we were all equally, I wouldn't say shocked, because we knew it was coming, but of course we don't like that also against us. There has been a 15% tariff announced, as you mentioned, and then, as you are aware, this is on all Norwegian goods. The Norwegian finance minister said this is the most serious setback to free trade since the interwar period. So this is how seriously we take it. This is not even a week ago today, so we are still assessing the situation. We are in contact with the US with the aim of trying to reduce the 15% tariff, but also with the aim of trying to clarify what is this, why, and what can be done. We really believe that all countries benefit from an open world trade where we are following the same rules. So therefore, we think these tariffs are very, very serious, and we also realize that they are more serious for poor countries than they are for us in Norway. So we will continue working for the open world trade that we have seen so far, and Norway is really one of the countries that have benefited a lot from it. So also that we are taking into account. About 8% of Norwegian exports is going to the US. So it's not that big compared to the EU, because 70% of our exports is going to the EU. My Prime Minister is in Brussels today. And also to discuss with them what are they doing, how are they negotiating, how can Norway be part of what the EU is doing, and maybe most importantly, how can we be not part of the measures that the EU will apply to protect themselves. So we are working hard on this and seeing what is happening as everyone else is.
Okay, so I just want a show of hands so that I know how many rounds I have to. Okay, I think two more rounds we can go. Okay, so let me go from here. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, Ambassador May. This is Bhuvan. I'm with AFP. I would want your views on one debate that's ongoing in Norway right now. This is about Norway's sovereign investment fund that you have. And the debate since the start of the Ukraine-Russia conflict and also since Trump's presidency is about being allowed to invest in military defense companies. I mean, for now, there are restrictions on how and if at all it can invest. So how serious is that debate right now? Because that would obviously have repercussions for countries like India, which are looking for investment in some of the military defense companies. So how exactly is that debate right now? And how serious do you see that?
Saying I'm Deputy Editor, Foreign Affairs in Sahara Sama News Channel. And my question is, do you think Trump's policies are distancing Europe from America? And if so, how it will impact the geopolitics of Europe? Thank you.
Good evening, Ambassador, and namaste, Mr. Pant. I have a very light-hearted question. You said that Norway is a small country in many aspects. I would really like to hear from an optimistic person like you, in what aspects would you consider Norway as a big country? Or how have you seen Norway grow to be a big country in some aspects? Thank you.
Thank you. It was at the last and round of questions, because that would be a very good end to answer her question.
You can park that question for the last. Yes,
if I may. On the Norway Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is the biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world, as many of you might know. What is happening actually these days, I am not following hour by hour, but we have a lot. The wealth fund has a lot of investments in the US, so I don't know what is the actual status right now, but it's still a very big sovereign wealth fund, and this is the income that we have got from the oil and gas industry. We have had a very high tax on oil and gas industry since it was established in the 70s. It's actually 78% from all companies who would like to establish, and therefore also quite a lot of income. And the thinking has been that the income should be for the benefit of the future of the people. So this is how this sovereign wealth fund has grown, and it has then also been a principle that this should be managed in a way that can create more growth, but not with too much risk. So in that sense, and this is an independent government established, but independent fund. So it's not like any part of the government are deciding, but they are quite conservative in the way that they are operating. We see that the investments in India are growing, since I came to India, I don't have the figures on the top of my head, but we are checking now and then, and every time I'm checking, it has gone up. So the sovereign wealth fund is looking more to countries like India and investing more in countries like India. It now stands at $31 billion US. I think the investments here in India. So you know, that's the sort of the principles. And what you are also then alluding to, Bovan, is that we, as part of this fund, we have some ethical rules. And they are saying, for example, that the fund should not invest in nuclear or facilities producing nuclear weapons. So they would exclude some investments in some companies on that basis. The companies, the fund should not invest in companies producing landmines, because that's widely accepted norm that we also think we should adhere to. But it hasn't got a general rule that it should not invest in companies that are producing weapons. So that is not the case, and it is not either, as far as I know, part of the discussion in Norway now. We are discussing, of course, selling weapons to certain countries, and that has been the case in the last few years as well. But as part of the investments of the fund, that has not been the discussion. So there are some other principles that has affected, for example, Indian companies, that they should not be too engaged in, countries of war, for example, Myanmar. So there are some principles there. As far as I have followed, my colleagues might help me here, but in the recent months, it has not been a strong debate about these ethical norms or about how the sovereign wealth fund is operating. The debate in Norway has been more about, should we use more of the sovereign wealth fund than we had decided, which was 3% of its avkastning, of the dividends, and should we use more of it, for example, to support Ukraine? That has been part of the debate, and also, part of the result, but not in terms of the investments.
My name is Bhavish Soni. I am a founder of an NGO, Anumulacha. So, ma'am, what do you think about India's relation with Norway further in the future, especially India's role in Ukraine-Russia war? That that our Prime Minister visited Ukraine and Russia. That what and how India can contribute there in the peacemaking efforts with your lens.
Hello, Ambassador. I'm Arup Manu, a high school student from Montfort, Delhi. My question is, what advice would you give to young people in India and who are interested in learning more about Norway and its culture, which is exuberant and beautiful?
After the collapse of communism, there was no justification for this continuance of this alliance. Rather than it started expanding towards the east, and that apparently provoked Russia. So how does Madam see this problem? How much Europe is responsible for this invasion of Ukraine?
Yes, I'm a political science graduate. I gave my semester exams a few months ago, and from your address, I could notice that there are many similarities between Norwegians and European countries, be it over the conflicts, tariffs, or sanctions. Then what has been preventing Norway from joining European Union and Eurozone for so long? You call yourself semi-member of European Union. How long will it take to be a full member? What does it require?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Namaste. Ma'am, I would like to ask a question about Arctic and strategic regions. So, ma'am, how does Norway approach cooperation and competition in the Arctic, particularly with countries like Russia and China expanding their interest? And that's all.
Good evening, ma'am. I would like to ask one question, which is very simple. As in your introductory speech, you have mentioned that India and Norway contributing and collaborating in many fields, and there is not a single university in India. So my question is that how, like, Norway education system is quite best, we consider as best and superior. So how Norway contribute and collaborate in the terms of education here at India? Can you give your point of view and perspective regarding how in future like Norway and India can contribute in the sector of education?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amulya Gupta, and I work as a coordinator in the Chairman's Office of Confrontation of Young Leaders of India. And it's an absolute honor to be meeting with Your Excellency today. Ma'am, during the India-Norway Business Forum held in Mumbai, and even you mentioned it today and you announced it, that the Indo-Nordic Summit will be happening in 2025 this year in Oslo. So given Norway's global leadership in climate policy and India's ambitious green targets, how do you see that the upcoming summit fostering deeper collaboration between our countries, particularly on climate resilience, clean energy, and ocean governance? And ma'am, also, Norway is a strong advocate for gender equality and women's leadership. So will these themes be a part of India-Nordic Summit 2025?
Final question, yes.
Namaste, ma'am. Myself, Ashutosh Pratap. I'm a student of international law and diplomacy at the Indian Society of International Law, New Delhi. Ma'am, I'm very happy to listen your optimistic views. I am not having any question, but want to know about your opinions about India, what India had did in the pandemic and current geopolitical issues. So general, only I want to say you that we, the students in the diplomatic studies, just having a light of your opinion, what India is doing and how you are seeing the India.
It's a good question to end the conversation on, Ambassador. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much. There came a lot of more good questions to end the conversation on. So now I'm a bit more unsure of what to do. And there were a lot of questions here, but I'll try and see if I can answer at least some of them. And I was asked about NATO and the expansion of NATO in the 90s and 2000s. Well, I believe, and my country believes, that was on the basis of the will of each and every of these countries. It's a sovereign decision of each of them. So that means that, you know, it's not something created. It's not, they are not being grabbed. They are, you know, they wanted to be part of this alliance. And therefore, the alliance have grown stronger. And we also see that has been looked upon as a threat. But that does not mean that in any way it would be NATO's fault that Russia is invading another country. So these are thoughts that we don't really even understand in Norway, since we are basing our view on that each and every country decide on their own. On the Arctic, which is a very important issue for Norway, since we are an Arctic country. 9% of Norwegian population live north of the Arctic Circle, so it's important for us. We also have the sovereignty of the Svalbard archipelago, according to the Svalbard Treaty. So we feel quite a lot of responsibility in managing this in the best possible way. The last 2 years, we have also been chairing the Arctic Council. Arctic Council, consisting of the 8 countries that are bordering the Arctic, that is including Russia. We took over the chairmanship from them, and we have also been trying to look at solutions in which way we can cooperate on a more technical level since we took over the presidency. And this is very important because the Arctic is important for climate change. This region is warming twice as fast as anywhere else in the globe. The ice melting in the Arctic is happening very fast. It's about 10% of the ice melting in about 10 years. I visited Svalbard 2 years ago, and this was in June at the middle of summer. And then there is no snow in the streets of the main city or town of Svalbard. 20 years ago, you could never walk there without snow under or ice under your feet. So this is a very serious development that we see, and we feel also responsible for managing this. We have a research station very far up north there, a research station where also Indian researchers are participating, and they are sitting there actually looking at how is the ice melting in the Arctic affecting the monsoons here in India, which they are, and how is climate change. How is it sort of all how are we all being affected by it? This is why this cooperation is very, very important, and we spend quite a lot of time on that and on the Arctic. So that's also an existential question for us in a way, but also for the world in terms of climate change. We are also very much welcoming India as an observer of the Arctic Council. They are participating more and more actively, which we think is a good thing. So that's on the Arctic. Just, of course, I could say more as well, but I hope it helped a little bit. And then on the sort of Norway-India cooperation and size and what not I could talk about. I already said that there is a lot of cooperation on the education and research side. So I could go into details about that, but there is a lot going on, and I think this is a cooperation that will also only be strengthened. We see, as it was mentioned, that India's ambitions on economic growth and sustainable economic growth and green growth, they are really big. We think that, if India does not succeed, if your growth is also not sustainable, then the world will not succeed. So for us, and this is also leading up to the Nordic summit, because this is something all Nordic countries would agree to. We will only support India in this journey, and if there is something that we can contribute, be it our companies that have the tech or whatever, I have already mentioned that this is something that will continue and will be strengthened, with which we would like to also to do. Let me see. Also, we are coming to an end here, and I don't think everyone will be totally satisfied that I answered the questions fully, but I think I could come to the where is Norway a big country question, and since I came to India, I have been really. It's 20 months now, my tenure here, and I've been really feeling humble because India is so big. It's the most populous country, and on this earth, it's about 260 times more Indians than Norwegians. So in that aspect, we are very small. But then also we have been looking at, what is the size of the country and the area, and then we are not that small. We are actually India is actually only 10 times bigger than Norway when it comes to the area. And then if you have had a look at the map before you came here and looked at Norway also, you will see that our sea area is big. And actually our exclusive economic zone is slightly bigger than India's. So we have been a maritime superpower for hundreds of years. We are a big shipping nation. And as I also said, we are contributing quite a lot now to discussions and also development of technology on green shipping and also all industries related to maritime. We are a big fishing nation. We are exporting a lot of fish, and if there are anyone here in the audience who actually like Norwegian salmon, I can come with some good news, and that is after 5 years with the free trade agreement, meaning in about 5 years from now, all tariffs will be gone, and Norwegian salmon will be much cheaper also in India. So these are some of the areas where we are big at. I already mentioned oil and gas, and that we are an energy superpower, and also now looking into green energy and how to use those resources. We are quite big. We are a small country, but we are about number 30 as an economy. So per capita we have a very big BNP. And also then being a rich country, we are hoping and wanting to also try and contribute to some of these issues and some of the difficulties that the world is in, and see if there is something that we can do to push on with our leverage.
Thank you, Ambassador, for spreading so much optimism in this room in these very pessimistic days, including the Norwegian salmon, which I think many of us will go back thinking much about. But on a slightly different note, ORF will be hosting the Arctic Forum early next month. So there is the discussion. India's greater interest in Arctic related issues also brings India and Norway together in that part of the geography, which traditionally Indians have not really thought much about. So I think it's again beginning a process beginning conversations on an area which perhaps matter both now increasingly to India and of course to Norway traditionally. But thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and thank you, Ambassador, for very patiently handling all the questions. They came thick and fast on Ukraine, and you handled them like a professional. So thank you, and thank you all for coming this afternoon. Let's give a big round of applause.